I'm Kyle Larson, and you're watching Racing America.
Welcome in, friends. It is Thirsty Thursday, which means it's time for Dirty Air with Rodney Rodriguez. Clean air is good times like this. Dirty air just a tad bit better. Dirty air where the short trackers gather. Glad to have you guys with me this evening as we get set for another big weekend of racing that's coming up. And we're going to talk short track racing. That's what we do on this program. As promised last week, if you were checking in, we were attempting to talk to, as I like to say, the dirty girl, JD Bowsher. I was looking to join us, but coming up here momentarily, probably in about, 5, 6, 7 minutes, JD will join, and we'll have a great conversation. We'll break down those previous two Cars Tour races that we were looking to talk about the last time out. We'll probably talk about some Core Deal also, talk some ASA Stars Tour, UARA. Of course, that was the Core Deal race. We'll just dive in and just talk short track racing. That is what we're going to do when JD joins here momentarily. Later on in the program, after the conversation with JD, I'll dive in and I'll give you the thoughts and my thoughts and break down everything that went on in the world of the NASCAR Cup Series after the Sunday race. What a way to make their way back after the Olympic break. So you had that finish there. That is one that's going to be talked about for a very, very long time. We can break all of that down. Of course, anytime during the program, you guys can chime in, whether you're checking in live on YouTube or one of the Facebook feeds, because we are on multiple different channels. Of course, we're on Racing America, YouTube feeds, and so forth. So anytime, just drop a comment in the box. And if I'm able to see that as we're rolling along right here, we'll respond. And if you drop a comment and it's a topic that you want to break down, I'll do my best to do that with you as well. The show, as always, presented by my friends at On Demand Shirts over in San Antonio, Texas. They are the official apparel providers of the Dirty Air Racing Show and, of course, of the Revved Up Sports Show. And they are apparel providers for lots of racers around this South Central Texas area where I am. Also, audiovisual consultations. They outfit my audiovisual consultation studio right here with just amazing screens, and they can do that for you no matter where you are at avconsultations.com. Really, really good folks right there. My man Tom McKay has been doing it for a long time, since 1988. Before we get into all of the fun, and different things that we'll talk about on Dirty Air here this evening, I would be remiss to not talk about. You had the incident at Southern Raceway this past weekend where we lost a racer. Where we lost Mr. James Fox, and that first and foremost, all of our positive thoughts and everything, and our we all hurt as a racing family when we lose anyone. That's one of the things I think is frustrated as we all get a lot of times with our sport, is a thing that in a time of tragedy, in a time of sadness, in a time we can never bring anyone back. We can't bring back our brother there that we lost, but it's very much a situation where a lot of us across the country in the short track world, where when something like that happens, whether it's natural causes or something on track, we all hurt, and we all think the best, and we just kind of all band together. And that's something that I've seen, again, not surprisingly, that's been going on since that tragic loss this past weekend. And candid thoughts, I am, when these things happen, when a situation happens like it did, you start getting reports of, you get media outlets that are going to report different things. And use their photos, and they're going to use their whatever they're going to use, and obviously our thoughts are with the family there, but some of the initial stuff, the way that was reported, I mean that racetrack, Southern, is already dealing with the loss right there of a very dear family member of their racetrack, and the way some of that actually started, it was like, come on, let's get the report straight on what actually happened, and thank goodness some of that was clarified, and it's not to diminish the fact that we lost that family member right there, but I'm glad that some of those reports were clarified to where it was, because I mean that directly does affect the racetrack, and it affects all of that. But the main thing is that our thoughts are with the family, and we can only hope the best right now in their time of loss, and that they will be able to move forward in the most positive way possible, and just remember the time that they had. But when we lose a fellow racer, and I'm talking about crew members, I'm talking about track officials, I'm talking about everything. When the racing family loses someone, that is really does seem to be, for all the stupid things that we do, that really does seem to be when we come to our best, when we have lost one of ours, and we have this week there at Southern, and our thoughts are with those folks. Coming up, JD Bowsher will join me. We'll dive into some of that late model conversation that I know is just going to be great, because when she dives in, that means that we're gonna be shooting straight from the hip right there. It's a straight shooter that we're going to be having that conversation with. She will join me later in the show. I'll talk about NASCAR and so forth and all that. Thank you for being a part of Thirsty Thursday right here on Dirty Air with Rodney Rodriguez. That's where the short trackers gather. It is Dirty Air on Racing America. You guys stick around, and we'll get to the good.
To racingamerica.tv to join our racing community and get access to over 200 live pavement short track races each season for US and Canada. Plus, racingamerica.tv has exclusive and behind-the-scenes coverage of the NASCAR Cup teams.
Enjoy competing with your teammates.
You already know.
Subscribe today and claim additional discounts and access, and your front row seat to watch the excitement and drama.
Car lifts up in the air.
From grassroots to NASCAR, become a subscriber today at the home for race fans everywhere.
You're watching Racing America right here on Racing America.
Racing America. It's in our DNA.
All right, Thirsty Thursday rolls on, friends. Back with you. It's Rodney Rodriguez, Dirty Air. Thank you all for being a part of the program. Keep those live comments coming, because the good thing is that we can interact. We can talk back and forth as this thing is going on. And later on in the show, yes, I will talk about the NASCAR thing from yesterday. Whatever. But anyway, we'll get to that whenever we get to that. But as promised, if you were on last week, we had quite the weather situation. In the words of Ken Squire, we have a weather situation that was going on. JD Bowsher is here, and
I made it, right?
with us. Oh my God,
it was a disaster. It was literally I was talking to you, and the internet's going out and the trees are blowing. I was like, this is it. This is how I go out. Debbie's gonna take me.
Yeah, damn. I loved your text. So I get a text from JD after it's done, and it's like, so I guess Debbie is the new Karen, which yeah. That bitch definitely was last week.
She's worse than Karen.
She was worse than Karen. She was absolutely worse. So how you doing? Looking stunning as always, my friend.
How are you? How's Texas?
It's hot. 101 today. 101 in the shade.
Ew.
Yeah, come visit anytime.
Maybe in January.
Yeah,
I'm down. Let's do it.
Yeah, we're only in the 90s, and my friend, I'd love to show you around there in the cool. So let's kind of pick up where we left off last week. So we were going to dive in there and talk some cars tour, and this actually kind of works out because Ace is going to be Saturday or Friday and Saturday.
Friday night, yeah.
So your thoughts on the two events before? All right.
So obviously Andrew Grady still suspended. He hasn't gotten that appealed, so he's going to be sitting out. I know he's really sad about that. If you read the article that Weaver put out, he basically explained that he shoved Jack down because Jack put his hands on his mom. I didn't see it. I was looking the opposite direction. I can neither confirm nor deny. After the article came out, I reached out to Andrew to see if he wanted to clarify anything. I didn't hear anything back, so I assumed that he said everything he wanted to say. I was really shocked that with him putting his hands on an official, regardless of the situation, it was only a 3-race suspension. Usually that's, terms for you're done forever. So
Yeah.
I think that, I think the Cars Tour recognized that was a heat of the moment thing. And maybe there were some alternate factors, which will get Andrew back to the Cars Tour in a few weeks. But then Trayton with Chad Bryant's car, they got fined. It was illegal rear end housing, from what I understand. The question that I see a lot of people bringing up is how did they make it through tech originally? So but I'm not quite sure about that. I don't know if they really checked that hard. I don't know if the post race was they just really went through the car. I know they are appealing. I haven't heard anything on that part yet. So we're kind of going to have to see how that breaks down. That kid has been driving the wheels off. He was at the Battle of Berlin last week. He is all over the place. So he's a great little Canadian driver. I'm pretty sure he's going to go really far because I really like what I've seen out of him so far.
So kind of what is the thought, there, because you're in the heart of all of this. I mean, kind of with cars. I mean, with, we just saw on Wednesday with the whole NASCAR debacle. It took them 3 days to essentially shit or get off the pot.
Right.
But with when it comes to penalties like that, and then I love that yellow flag rule that if you intentionally spin and won't get rolling, the penalty for that. I mean, I think that's really. Yeah. So kind of what's the sense there with those kind of penalties? I mean, some may seem hardcore, but I mean, I think it's very needed in certain cases.
You have to police. If you do not police the situation, it's going to get out of control. If there's a problem, you have to stop it before it gets too far, because then everybody's going to be trying it. Kind of like when Ross Chastain pulled the wall situation a few years ago. They immediately came out with a rule about that. They had to. You have to make rules after those situations, because then everybody's going to do it, and you don't know who's going to push it even further and what's going to come of that. So I agree with having to, bring out harsh penalties, because you have to make an example out of people. Unfortunately, that's just the nature of the business, because everybody's trying to find a gray area, no matter where it is in any aspect of racing. So if you don't draw a hard line in the sand, everybody's going to cross it. Who knows how far it's going to go or where it's going to branch off to. So you have to do it.
Yeah. And that's where it gets so hard, in my opinion, JD, because the gray area thing is the whole thing. I mean, because you can do one thing and the gray area is still there. It's a long way till you get to the black area, which is, whatever. So the other thing that I wanted to ask you about, I mean, in that at the throwback, I mean, the pro late model race right there with Jimmy Renfrew, I mean, when you want to talk about good short track racing, right there, for firsthand account of what that looked like.
It was very exciting. That pro race was crazy. I mean, I feel like a lot of times they're always crazy, but I feel like that one was really crazy. And I was really happy for, I really like Jimmy Renfrew. I think he's a really great kid. I saw him a few days later. I was like, hey man, good job, high five. He's just a great kid. So I like to see good things happen for him, but also you can't be a fool. So it's kind of like, where do you draw the line with that? It just kind of, you have to take it case by case.
Yeah, and that's the thing, because every case it may be similar, but there's always going to be a difference.
Everything's a little different, yeah.
I've talked to a lot of people to where when they're talking about the Cars Tour, to where it's like with the new ownership and all that they're kind of afraid that it's going to get to kind of be like some of the other series and kind of get to be like some of the super series, super late model series and all that. It really seems like not just with all of this, but just kind of the whole environment and everything. I mean, It seems like whoever the hell owns it really seems like it just continues to thrive, in my opinion.
It's very exciting. I will always tell people, don't waste your money and go see a cup race. That's dumb. You're throwing a ton of money away on those seats. Go to a Cars Tour race. Go to an ASA race. They will be 10 times more exciting and way cheaper. Those drivers in those series, those are the guys that are working a full-time job. They're going home, they're working on their cars at night, and they're hauling themselves to get to the racetrack. And yes, I know there's plenty of drivers that are renting rides, but a lot of those kids that are renting those rides, I will say, they do go to the shop. They do work in the shop.
Yep.
They know what they're doing. So they are there. So those guys are really working towards it. As opposed to go to a cup race and like you might see a driver for 5 seconds walking by. The Cars Tour, they do a big autograph session. You can go down there and chit chat with your favorite driver, and you know y'all might become friends. So I encourage you, if you've never been, you need to go. Just check it out. I think you'll be hooked.
And kind of on the other token right there with the throwback. I mean, like for Ronnie Bassett Jr. I mean that's been a dude where it didn't quite work out the way that was intended. And he gets the win there. He's kind of come back to the roots, and I mean that really seems like what this series is all about.
It really truly is. There's a lot of grassroots roots in the Cars Tour. You just walk through, and there's plenty of guys that have been racing late model stocks generationally for years. Ronnie Bassett, Andrew Grady, they're just drivers, right? They were born drivers. That's what their family did. It's cool to see. I was happy. I'm not happy that Ryan Millington was disqualified. I wanted to see him win that. But I was really happy to see Ronnie Bassett Jr. get that first win. That kid has been so close so many times that something stupid has happened. That was awesome for him to get that. He deserved it.
Yeah. And you love the emotion. I mean, that's this sport is so emotional, and it's always you see the other emotion. You see the pissed off emotion.
Yes.
So when you see the excitement, that's really cool. So we mentioned right there at the top. So with the cancellation last week that we were touching on, now it's on to Ace, and I think that this coming up Friday. Everything's starting very well. What's that tomorrow? Man, I think it's going to be it's going to be go time, and this is going to be one hell of a show. I think with that momentum continuing to roll on.
It is. And Ace Speedway always produces a good show. Every Cars Tour race I've ever seen there has been phenomenal. And then you got to factor in it's going to be Andrew Grady's suspended. Trayton Lapjevich, he's penalized. He's got something to prove. Connor Hall just came off of his Truck Series debut. He's also the Cars Tour points leader. He is definitely on fire right now. I fully expect him to be in the top 3 finishing this weekend.
Yeah, that's awesome. Looking forward to that. That's going to be one hell of a show. Yeah, the middle of the week last week you mentioned the Berlin race.
Yes.
You had a little bit of what you see right there. When it's all said and done, there's Bubba Pollard again. The dude just continues to do Bubba Pollard things.
Yeah, he is a shoe. Bubba Pollard. I know a lot of people like Bubba. A lot of people don't like Bubba. Whatever. You can't deny the man can drive a race car. He is one hell of a race car driver. It doesn't matter where he goes. It might take him a few laps or a weekend or so to get a feel, but at the end of the race, he's going to be there and he's going to be a contender. He's somebody people are always looking in their rearview mirror like, oh man, Bubba's behind me. What do I do? The guy's a shoe, and it took him a few chances to get to at Berlin, but he finally got it. I think it was last year was the first one or whatever. But yeah. Always excited. It's always going to be a good show when Bubba Pollard shows up.
Ain't no doubt about it. BP is definitely the man. So when we were talking so talking about the Berlin race, I mean that's obviously UARA.
Yes.
You mentioned ASA, Southern Super Series, all of that. I mean, it really seems like I think that we're getting a little bit of I don't want to say getting along, but it really seems like we're getting a little bit of I mean, I don't know. I'll just say co-op and leave the oration off. And I think that's good for super racing, especially. And JD, in my opinion, a lot of this is because of like the Cars Tour that is just kicking everybody's ass. Your thoughts?
The Cars Tour definitely, especially when the new owners took the Cars Tour was great to begin with. Let me go ahead and say that. The Cars Tour is a great product 5 years ago. When the new ownership came in, it created a different platform. It pulled more people's interest that weren't interested in late model racing. They should have been, but they weren't.
Right.
So with the growth of the Cars Tour, more people are looking at late model racing in general, which is awesome, which is exactly what I love to see. So then the other series, that don't have the Justin Marks, Kevin Harvick owners, those series are profiting as well. Short track racing as a whole is profiting off the Cars Tour and the attention that it brings solely to short track racing and the excitement of short track racing. I definitely like to see it. I want to see all the little late model short track series. I want to see them all grow, develop, because I think that's where I don't want to say the future of racing is, but I think over the course of the next 10, 15 years, the best racing you're going to see is going to be out of a touring late model series, the Cars Tour, ASA, UARA, Southern Super Series. All of that is going to be where your good racing is going to be over the next few years.
I think so as well, and as it should be with the late model series. So how is like down there? So here in Texas, we've got a race in Houston this week. We'll have modifieds and so forth, and we've got legends and not bandoleros, legends and eco stocks, and 4-cylinders are starting to grow again. We're essentially starting over. How are the grassroots classes there? And I dare to even ask this because I'm sure that they thrive, because I look on whatever streamer and it's like, man, I see all these damn steel-bodied stock cars, and it's like, God, man, that's what it's all about.
Yeah, it's very well here. I mean, you go to Hickory, you go to Tri-County, you go to Caraway, New River All-American Speedway, Ace, Orange County. Well, there's plenty of cars. Car count is good in every division. It doesn't matter if you got a street stock, you got a bomber, you got a 4-cylinder. There's plenty of cars, champ cars, and they all put on good shows. That's the thing. They're all good shows. So you might show up to see, Landon Huffman running, the late model race at Hickory, but before that, you're going to get a 4-cylinder race that's like, dang, this is pretty good. I might want to go get me one of those. So around through these pair parts, it's great. It's phenomenal. Racing is alive and well, obviously, in the North Carolina region.
Yeah, I'm so freaking jealous. But dirt is good here. And we'll take what we can. We'll take what we can get. Lastly, I definitely want to ask you because I know it was a topic that was coming up the last couple of Cars Tour races right there. I think when a lot of folks want to jump on and when leaders are doing what they're doing and you talk about lap cars and all of that, and I was kind of railing on this last week, just kind of on a soapbox myself. It's really hard sometimes for lap cars to just, when people say they need to get out of the way, and it's not lap cars. I'm talking about the back of the field. It's
right,
like,
people that are 2 laps down, 3 laps down.
Get out of the way.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's
easier
said
than done. Easier said, because you got to keep there's really not a lot of racing surface, right? Like when you're on the track, there's only so much surface. There's only so many places you can go. And when you're somebody that's 3 laps down, the leaders are coming, they're knocking on your door. Yeah, you need to get out of the way, but sometimes if you're in a mix with you're 3 laps down, the guy in front of you is 4 laps down, if there's a cluster, that's when it gets really tricky. So yes, the lap down cars should get out of the way, but it's also on the leader to get around them. And if you have a spotter, your spotter needs to be going over and talking to the lap down car spotter and saying, hey, we're coming, can you cut us a break, making some deals up there, which I know a lot of short track series don't, but yes, they need to get out of the way, but it is the leader's job to get around them. It is your job to navigate that racetrack and to keep the other cars behind you. So yes, there are instances where lap cars are the problem, but if you are just not doing a good job of getting through traffic, that's on you. So I think sometimes people may need to go back and look through the footage and say, hey, it really wasn't him, it was me.
See, that's why I like talking to you, because it's like you think we're racing people. We think that way. People just don't get it. It's like they think that it's like, okay, leader's coming, let me pull out of the way. That's not the way it works. And that leader's hauling tail, foot through the floor pan, the closing rates and all of that. So people just don't get it. So for you this weekend, I'm assuming Ace. What all you got up your sleeve?
I might go to Hickory. I haven't decided yet. Or not Hickory, but Tri-County. I haven't decided yet. Kind of depends on how the weekend's going to go. So we'll see. But yeah, my goal is definitely to make it to Ace tomorrow night, because why would you not? It's only like 2 hours from here, from Mooresville. So that's not bad.
Yeah.
I should be able to pull it off.
Yeah, that sounds like a good one. Well, we'll have to definitely get a recap as to what goes on because, like you said, the storylines are many. The
Oh
storylines are
God,
many.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have enough note paper. I mean, my paper's dripping with ink. So
Yeah, yeah. Looking forward to it. Looking forward to it. Thank you. We did it. We did
we
it.
did it.
We did it. We got it done. We got it done. One week late, but that's actually okay
All
because
right.
we got the preview. We got the preview
Mhm.
coming up this weekend. As always, thank you so much for the time. Always a pleasure to see and talk with you. Just a good time as always.
Thank you, Rodney. I always like coming and hanging out with you.
You betcha. We'll do it again soon. You guys stick around. When I come back, I will dive into the damn NASCAR thing and go ahead. Do you even want to comment on that before I go?
It's a shit show, right?
Right?
I mean, yeah, okay, he dumped two people, but what would you do? How bad do you want it?
Yeah.
I mean, and if you can get two, go for it. That's kind of impressive, I think. Give the kid a medal.
I got to tell you that was a hell of a job. The way that he dove into the corner and then still
It
was able
was
to,
awesome.
to still able to hook the other guy. I can tell you that's
They're making plenty of money off of it, all the promotions, so they shouldn't complain too much.
those promotions were out like 10 minutes after that shit was done.
Oh
So,
yeah. Oh yeah.
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 Yeah. I'll dig a little bit more into that when we come back. Thank you, JD. We'll talk soon. Clean air is good. Times like this, dirty air is just a tad bit better. And remember, dirty air, this is where the short trackers gather. Stick around, more coming up.
The biggest stars.
I enjoyed it. I felt good out there.
The biggest stars.
I enjoyed it. I felt good out there. I would love to come here and race.
And the inside info.
This is the T-bar setup. This clips into the bottom of the cam lock.
The only fast channel powered by the NASCAR Cup team owners who know all about speed.
How am I even going to drive for 3.5 hours without having a radio in the car?
The most NASCAR team content anywhere. Climb on board.
Communication is key in the racing world. When it comes to at-the-track communications, there is only one place to call. Racing Electronics is the #1 source for professional race communications worldwide. Over 20 years in the business proves their dedication to the sport. With every driver and crew communication, two-way radios and headsets, scanners and more, Racing Electronics is a one-stop communication source for all your motorsports needs. Before the green flag flies, make sure you have all your team communication gear from Racing Electronics. Stop by and see a Racing Electronics representative at the track near you. Visit their showroom in Concord, North Carolina, or order online at racingelectronics.com.
Hi, this is Tom McKay with Audiovisual Consultations. Today's home electronics can be a bit daunting. My company has spent the last 36 years making sure they are not. For those of you who have not experienced our services yet, we'd like to invite you to give us a try for all your home electronics needs. We carry all the major brands of televisions and stereo equipment at prices you can't find in stores. And we come to you. There's no need to leave your home to find great pricing and incomparable service. No traffic, inexperienced sales geeks, or pushy showroom tactics. We believe in having some fun and dreaming big. You have a dream for your home entertainment? Let us know. We can make it come true. And we are always there to help after the job is done. We cultivate clients for a lifetime by treating everyone like their family. No, not those family members. I'm talking about the ones you actually like. So relax, hug your kids, make love to your wife, and smile. Then, when you have a moment, give us a call at 255-8678. That's 512-255-8678. Or online at avconsultations.com.
Pavement racing action this weekend begins Friday night in New York with ROC Sportsman at Spencer and more ROC action on Saturday night at Lancaster. And it all continues on Saturday with Slam Fest at Slinger, CRA Late Model Sportsman at Salem, and a 75-lap feature for the late models at Wiscasset. Spanning the United States with a full menu of motorsports competition only on RacingAmerica.tv. It will be a loaded weekend indeed right here on Racing America as we set into your weekend of action. Depending on what you may be looking for, I will tell you guys, and I've really started to say this a lot more often on the show right here, is if you're going to a track, whatever the case may be, if you're looking for a stream or whatever, I would double check whether it be on Racing America or any of the streamers or with the racetrack, Facebook, social media site, whatever the case, just to make sure that weather has not caused a problem. Because as we all know, weather is a problem, it seems like, even though I will be in Houston this weekend, Saturday, for a big night of action out there with pro modifieds and so forth. And I think the only issue that we're going to have is it's going to be very, very hot. So that's going to be the problem that we have there. All right, into the final segment. I'm going to talk a little bit of NASCAR Cup Series, which I have been kind of dropping a couple of little hints there as the announcement coming down after the Richmond race. And this is presented by Team Texas. That's David Starr's racing school over at Texas Motor Speedway, powered by Connectus. It's a really cool thing right there. If you want to if you've got a corporate outing that you need to take care of, if you have a team building event, whether it be with a business, whatever the case may be, if you just want to have an activity at a NASCAR Speedway, at Texas Motor Speedway, the great Texas Motor Speedway over there just north of Fort Worth, that is the place to go. teamtexas.com. Be sure and check that out. You can message me directly and I can help you get a package put together. Now a partner of mine, a partner of Dirty Air, and man, I am so excited to be a part of that. Actually went out to a event at TMS there with David and Kim and the group at Team Texas a couple of weeks back, and it was really cool. You are driving a NASCAR race car, or you are riding in a NASCAR race car. You can ride with David, you can ride with one of the instructors, or you can drive, whatever the case is. There's lots of different packages that can be put together. If it's a party that you want, there's condo access overlooking turn 2. It's a really cool thing to do. Really cool thing to do. I highly recommend it. Message me and I can help get you something put together. Penalties come down yesterday. Today is Thursday. Clean air is good. Times like this, dirty air is a tad bit better. Penalties come down after all of the events that happened on the return of the NASCAR Cup Series after the little break there for the Olympics. And I mean, we all saw everything that happened, and everybody has varying opinions on what should have gone down and what was going to go down. If you missed it, you come down. It's NASCAR overtime. On the break, on the whole shot, as I like to call it, it's Joey Logano with the surge right there, able to get ahead. There were some lap cars, or not lap cars, but there were some cars in the mix right there. I mean, it is racing. It's racing. You know how these things go when you get into overtime. On the last lap going into turn 3, it's just a dynamic push by Austin Dillon in the RCR number 3. I mean, a big-time push, making up lots of car links. Dumps to 22. There's no other way around it. Just takes him out. Just takes out Logano. Logano spins. Down goes the 3 to the inside somewhat to avoid the spinning 22. Here comes the 11 of Denny Hamlin down on the inside. And this is where I'm not the biggest fan when we start looking at SMT data, whatever you call it, all of these different things. But the hook, and the 11 goes into the fence. The 3 wins, followed by Tyler Reddick and so forth and so on. Everything sits and it waits and it marinates, and it's just going on and on and on and on. We're thinking that we're going to hear something on Tuesday on whatever penalties may be levied. We hear nothing, and then it's yesterday. I guess it would be 4:00 Eastern time on Wednesday. 3:00 my time is when all of this comes down, and here are the penalties that were issued by NASCAR after that race at Richmond. The 3-car of Austin Dillon, the win stands. He's still the winner of record of the race at Richmond. but the win will not count towards the playoffs in either driver or owner standings. And that's the big dagger right there. He and the team have also been docked 25 points. And the spotter, of course, because you heard the conversation there with the spotter, has been suspended for the next 3 races, which a couple of different kind of groundbreaking things right there. The spotter, for one, being and we were just talking, JD and I, with spotters and lap traffic and to the back markers and to the back of the pack and all of that. Well, the spotter's being held heavily responsible right here, is suspended for the 3 races, 25 points and so forth. That's big, but in the big picture, the bigger thing is right here, the automatic playoff berth that Austin Dillon would have secured is no longer in play. And I don't know the exact spots, or I haven't looked at the point standings that have been updated, but I know he came into the race 32nd. So I think he had moved to 25th, or I'm not sure on the details there. It's going to move up, but it's still a situation for Austin Dillon to where he needs to win one of the next 3 races, which begin this Sunday at Michigan, to be able to qualify for the playoffs. I mean, if he goes and wins Michigan this week, all of this is really irrelevant because he wins and he's in the playoffs. It's a big if. It's a big if. And then the other part, the Joey Logano, the one that got taken out, the first part of this incident, was fined $50,000 for the actions on pit road. And, you know, that is what it is. I'm not diminishing that whatsoever. My take. The Logano thing, yes, while I understand the frustration, I totally understand the frustration, you cannot do what Logano did. And, you know, he was pissed, and that is what it is, which in lies something else that I spent a lot of years as a fan before I had media access and before I worked at cup events or whatever the case may be. And there are entirely too many people on pit road. That's the bottom line, in my opinion. Way too many. I get crew people, I get radio people, I get TV people. I understand all that, but just anyone that's able to secure a one of those credentials, now the essential, I guess is what that thing's called. There's just a lot of people there. There's a lot of people there, and they're taken aback by everything that's going on, especially at the beginning or the end of a race. Yeah, I mean, you're looking up. I mean, you see people, they're looking around, and that's, you know, they're starstruck with everything that's happening. You're at a major sporting event, so I totally get that part. And if you're a race fan or you're new to the sport, whichever the case may be, you're going to be starstruck with all the stuff that's going on, especially at the end of this race, to where you had all the controversy and you had the wreck and you had just all the post race that's going to be going on. You're not paying attention. You're paying attention, but you're not paying attention. So, but that's a totally different subject, where I say that there are entirely too many people, and a lot of them don't need to be there. Get behind the wall. I mean, that's my thought on that. The 3. My initial logic on this was going to be that the 3 needed to sit out a race on the precedent that had been set prior by NASCAR with the hooking. That's the bigger thing to me in this whole scenario. The running it deep into the corner and hitting Logano, scoring the bumper and taking him out. Yeah, man, that's a lot of times the way that we race right now, and I have a whole different problem with that. But that, I mean, it pains me to say that that's grown to be expected and grown to be accepted. So with that, we had the Chastain thing a while back with the, riding along the wall at Martinsville and all that. That move's been outlawed. Is something going to be put in writing? Is something going to go into this fat rule book of NASCAR with the Cup Series that doesn't allow that? I mean, how do you disallow that from happening in the future? Can you not say, well, if you are not within 6 car lengths, you can't take a deep dip? Forget all that. That is what it is. Had the bigger issue with me is the precedent of the hooking, and they've gone back and checked the data, and that's where I stand on the fact with the data, where I wish the data wasn't there. Everybody doesn't need to see that, but you've gone back and you've looked at that, and there was a hook, and you have already in the past put a driver, taken a driver off the track for a week for the hook. I mean, the end result is the same thing for me, guys, with the three. Let's say that NASCAR went the route that I'm talking about. The hook, you park him for a week. He's not going to be in the playoffs, at least without a waiver. Which that would be, I don't know if we'd have enough time. I don't know if we'd have enough time if they had sat him a week. They were going to file a waiver, which RCR is going to appeal this penalty, by the way. But let's say that they do what I'm talking about. Put him on the sideline. Let's wait on the waiver. This took entirely too long. Elton Sawyer apologized on Wednesday for how long this took. And I firmly believe that this was something where, yeah, you're going to get input from all the different people that you're going to talk to. This is a committee thing that's going to make this decision. I think that you probably go to people like Mike Helton, and because it's unprecedented. It's unprecedented. But yeah, that would have been a whole different scenario right there. Still the same end result. And I'm not saying that what I wanted was for the 3-car to not be in the playoffs, because that's far from my concern. I'm just looking at this as from a principle standpoint and from a precedent standpoint, is that you have already set the precedent. And maybe the logic was because this was different. This was two different scenarios. I mean, these were two different situations that happened right here, and possibly maybe was the logic. And if that was the logic and that's been mentioned somewhere else, I apologize for not knowing that. But the fact is, the win doesn't stand. You got to go. If you're the 3-car, you got to go. You got to win one of the next 3 races, and you can get yourself in the playoffs that way, because the Richmond win doesn't stand. I think what's happened here is I think that a Pandora's box has been opened up once again, because there are going to be, every situation is different. Every situation is different. And I talked about that last week when it was the same conversation that JD and I were just having when it comes to stuff that happens on the track. Everything's different, and this is a very different scenario than we've seen in the past. But it's going to be, especially now as we go into, because we've got a lot of different drivers that are upset with each other. And when we talk about, I know with short track racing it's different, because when drivers get upset with each other, that stuff doesn't go away. I'm sure it's the same thing for the guys on the Cup Series, but they learn to deal with it. It seems like a little bit easier than we short trackers. We hold a grudge. And you guys and ladies, you all damn well know that as well as anybody else. We can go down the list of short track rivalries that we have right now. I don't give a damn the series. We can go through there and look, and you know that so-and-so and so-and-so just really don't like each other. And I'm sure it's the same way here. But with these people, they're on a bigger platform. They're in a major league sport, and for them, they have to figure out how to coexist a little bit better, I think, than we do. A little bit better than we do, because they've got cameras in their face. They've got people that are surrounding them all the time, that are listening and watching everything that they do, and ready to print it out, and ready to tell somebody like me, so I can tell all of you guys what's going on behind the scenes. But the bigger part of it was, I wish that NASCAR would have been a little more timely with this, because something that Denny Hamlin said really resonated with me, I guess on his Actions Detrimental podcast, was the fact that NASCAR is a major league sport. I mean, not to the extent, and not everything with the NFL and some of these other ones, but you have to act that way, and you have to make painful decisions. And I applaud the sanctioning body and the fact that they did. I mean, they made a painful decision. You have to know that as in the modern NASCAR that we have now, Richard Childress, not so much Austin Dillon, Richard Childress is a pillar, a huge part of this sport. Had he not stepped away from his time driving that 3 and inserted Dale Earnhardt in that time with the Bud Moore and all of that, had that not happened, and brought Ricky Rudd in, to start that team, which, by the way, I was at the 1983 Great Texas Open race at Texas World Speedway, the Twin to Michigan, where they're going to be this week. That was actually the race where Childress brought the Piedmont Pontiac in for Ricky Rudd to get out there. Ricky Rudd won that race, and that really started setting the tone for RCR. It's a proven fact. RCR has mentioned that. But NASCAR made a painful decision. I wish it would have been a little more timely. The explanation was clear, and now we move on. And I am fairly positive that before the end of the year, there are going to be a lot more painful decisions that NASCAR has to make, because I think we're just scratching the surface with this, and who knows what's going to happen next. And the other part of Denny's comments there were, for the youngsters that see that, he said for short track races, the young drivers that see this, they think that this is the way we race. I'm sorry, this is the way we race. This is the way we race. Dirt or asphalt. You can talk about a little four banger all the way up to whatever division. This is how we race. I don't care if these guys are doing it on Sunday or whatever. It's grown to be accepted, and I'm not the biggest fan of it. And I struggle with that, because that's not the way that I was taught to race at all. And I think a lot of you guys that are more veteran fans, as I like to say, you weren't taught that way either. And I think it pains all of us when we see endings like that, where from a spectator standpoint, it's like, wow, that was really, really cool. But the racer in us that was taught the right way to race, that raced with respect, that worked on their own shit, that had to get, late hours and doing all these different things to go race for a trophy sometimes, you weren't taught to race that way. But that's a bigger problem that's eventually going to work itself out. And, nature of the beast. The sport has changed, times change, and we just continue to roll on and love this sport. Like I mentioned, be sure to check in with all of your streaming providers, all of your racetracks, their Facebook pages, their websites, everything, for to verify that you're going to be that your racetrack or wherever you're planning to go this weekend is going to be running, because weather is just out of this world. So hope you guys enjoyed this program. Thank you to JD Bowsher, the Dirty Girl, for checking in. We'll do that again soon. We're going to do that about once a month. Be sure and check in on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, every major podcast provider, and you will find the audio podcast of Dirty Air. It'll be available probably within an hour after this is done. You guys have a great race weekend. I look forward to seeing you all next week right here. Same time, same place. However you are consuming this madness. Clean air is good. Times like this, Dirty Air, a tad bit better. And remember, Dirty Air, it's where the short trackers gather. See you guys next week. Have a great race weekend.